paying the bills, going to the grocery store, trying to take care of family needs. But all it takes is one physician, one doctor saying cancer or disease or some other item that limits our life before all of a sudden we're thinking about death. Death, which seemed to be so far off, is suddenly a reality. We have that potential. We're going to die. Guess what? We are going to die. We're all going to die. We just up here, we don't think about it. It's some time away, years away. We've got plenty of time. We've always got plenty of time. That's our mindset. But when you get a diagnosis, you start thinking about death and the end of your life. And Jesus had a diagnosis from the very beginning, and He was drawing close to the conclusion of His life. And so it would be obvious that would be on His mind. Of course, He's the eternal God. He's going to live for all eternity. But He would have to suffer being abandoned. He would have to suffer being rejected. He'd have to suffer being beaten. He'd have to suffer being flogged. He'd have to suffer being people trying to humiliate Him. He would have to suffer hanging upon the cross for hours. And He knew what He would be going through. And so it's kind of hard not to think about it. And it was on His mind, and so He needed to retreat. He needed some time for prayer. He needed some encouragement. So He took His three, and I'll say it, His three best friends. His three closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, and took them apart. He could count on them. They're His closest friends. And He took them to a mount. And He wanted to talk things out with them. But what does the Scripture say? What were the disciples doing? It said that Peter and his companions were very sleepy. They were very sleepy. They weren't there for Jesus. And so God sends them Moses and Elijah. And they come. And Jesus is transfigured. And they're transfigured. What does transfiguring mean? That means you go on a diet? No. It means that you take on your heavenly presence. And it said that his clothing, and he became like a flash of lightning. And he had Moses and Elijah there with him. And what were they talking about? They spoke about His departure, which He was about to bring to fulfillment at Jerusalem. He wasn't going to catch a train. He was going to catch a cross. He wanted to talk about it. So God sent them Moses and Elijah to talk about it. Peter, James, and John weren't there for him. What happens with them? They were very sleepy. But when they became fully awake, they saw His glory and the two men standing with Him. They failed to recognize Jesus' message about His death that was coming. They needed someone to talk to about it. They needed to share. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Just a short time later, Jesus will take His three favorites, Peter, James, and John, in the Garden of Gethsemane, and He will pull them away from the other disciples. And He'll say, sit here, pray with me for a while. How many of you say prayers before you go to sleep? How many of you have ever fallen asleep during prayer? I guess it's a good thing to go to sleep with with heavenly thoughts on your mind? However you kind of think about what God's... Okay, wait. The line went dead. Hello, Roger. God understands the weakness of the flesh. In fact, Jesus did too. He said the body is willing, but the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. He understood that. But Jesus had to go alone, aside, and talk to God, because Peter, James, and John weren't there for him. They failed to recognize his message. They failed to recognize about who he is. He had just fed 5,000 people with a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish. After that, Peter had made his rock-solid confession. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Who do people say that I am? Well, some say you're Moses. Some say you're Elijah. Some say you're John the Baptist come back from the dead. But who do you say that I am? Peter says, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. A great historic moment. Jesus is excited. He's thrilled. He says, way to go, Peter. And upon this rock I shall build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And he says, Peter, from now on, you are Peter. You are the rock. And now Peter becomes the one with rocks in his head. It's good for us to be here with you, Lord. Hey, we'll build a shelter to Moses over here, one to Elijah over here, but we'll give you the choice spot right over here, and we'll build a shelter for you. All that they had just learned seemed to be thrown out the window. There was also a failure to recognize his deity. His deity. They're kind of drowsy. They come awake. And who's Jesus standing with? Moses and Elijah. How many of you have ever stood with Moses and Elijah? Raise your hand. It's going to be an awesome thing one day to be able to do that. To say, hello, Moses, I'm Roger. Man, I was always a big fan of yours. You're great. It was great to read about you as I was growing in my faith. Great to share heaven with you today. I would settle for Charlton Heston myself. Moses is busy. Give me Charlton Heston. Okay. He knew Moses and Elijah. He was on conversing basis with Moses and Elijah. How many can say that they know Moses and Elijah on a conversational basis? And he appeared in his heavenly body. He was changed. I mean, it was an awesome sight. But the idea, this is God, escaped their minds. He didn't just wash and bleach that day. He changed. He was not equal to the prophets. He was superior to the prophets. The prophets talked about him. Already some of his disciples were referring to him as a prophet. Some say you're a prophet. How's that sound, Jesus? That's pretty good. It's better than rabbi, isn't it? Some say you're a prophet. But he is the Son of God. He is the Son of God. And they failed to recognize that he is the Son of God at that moment. So much the case that God had to intervene. God himself comes down in a heavenly presence at a great white cloud that envelops him, Terrifies them. Everything was bright and clear, and all of a sudden they're surrounded by cloud. And a voice comes from the cloud, and it says, "This is my Son whom I have chosen. Listen to him." And listen to this. Obviously, up till now, with the feeding of the 5,000, with all the sermons, with Jesus talking about how if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, with everything that's happened, all the miracles that He's performed, all of His great teachings, they're not really listening. And sometimes it can get frustrating as a preacher to be standing up here trying to put my heart into a sermon and trying to share God's message with you and wonder, are they really listening? Do they just hear me? Or are they thinking about the roast that's in the oven? Or when's Roger going to shut up so I can get out here and go to Golden Corral? Are they really listening? Taking to heart the message. Remembering that they need to recognize Jesus in every part of their life. In their home life, in their work life. When they're around their friends. Recognize that when you think good things happen to you, it's because Jesus caused good things to happen to you. The Bible says to thank Him for every good thing. Do you recognize Jesus in your life? And how He's working in your life? And how He's trying to change your life?